Welcome to Curly's Mailbag. We've just been playing Call of Duty online together, and it looks like I've won the last game because Curls has shaved his head as a consequence. Still in there, big boy. It's brave.
Oh, not really. I've been potted on the Little Birdie show this morning about my weight, so I thought I'd shave off the 3 kilos of hair. And that's just body hair, not the hair off my head, being of Italian descent. And I've booked in to see a PT from Monday onwards too, mate. So I'm going to be lean, mean, fighting machine, romper stomper like for next time we catch up.
Yeah, mate. I thought you'd be dropping weight because it sounds like you haven't really had much of a day off. This week we've got Toowoomba Friday, so you're in the black shorts, you're on the home deck, which is exciting. You've got Gatton Saturday for 11 of the best. And then I'm going to do a cameo. Well, it's going to be tag team, Gatton Gold Coast, Double G, with some good races down at the Gold Coast as well. So it's a pretty fat weekend of racing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually the racing is hotting up as far as the depth's concerned in the metropolitan Queensland races. But all that does for me is just pushes those average horses back down to the provincials, and then I get to sink my teeth into these provincial 2 meetings at the places like Gatton, where there's just 1 or 2 winning chances every race, and barring incident or bad luck, we should be sort of getting well and truly in front of them. So I love this time of year because I love obviously, as you know, I do most of my work out wide, and so this time of year you always see 1 or 2 that aren't quite up to the mark in higher grade, sort of drop back to that provincial 2 sort of level and just become nice bets. So love it.
Right for the picking.
Indeed.
All right. Well, just so there's something there for the guys, and we're obviously going to miss the Sunshine Coast meeting, but there's a couple of black type races there. The first one is a 1,000-metre race, race 6 at the Sunshine Coast, and Emerald Kingdom's come up favourite over the 1,000 metres, which is interesting because his best figures seem to be around the 1,200 and 1,400 metre mark. What did you think of his early price at around the $4 quote?
Yeah, short enough. Like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head there with his distant ranges and where he's most effective. Obviously he does hold a nice strong gallop over further, so might find these a couple sharp enough. And like this race is sort of how I look at the placement of a horse like Emerald Kingdom. It's going to get him well at listed level, against some good quality performed 1,000-metre horses. So I don't think this is anywhere near its grand final, clearly. So, a good pipe opener for it would be a good enough return for connections, I would have thought there. So from a betting point of view, it just doesn't set up like a bet at all.
Yeah, it's a really odd market because I can find a few negatives. I thought Sugar Boom probably needed the run last start, so it might be an improver, but there's a pretty long tail to this race, and there was a runner that caught my eye at Rosehill last start, and it's come up massive odds here. I think $17 is the best price in the market. We sort of have to, grit our teeth a little bit with Robbie Frard on Batter Hoz, but there was nothing wrong with its run, and I think the big track at the Sunshine Coast will definitely suit it. It'll get a long time to wind up. It's drawn sort of middle of the field, so it doesn't have to go back to last. Pardon me. I think it's a massive chance, and it's really suited here over 1,000 metres on a really big track, 3 weeks between runs.
Yeah, there's look, I've got a knock on. You could find a knock for most of these. I think from top to bottom, you'll have a look at a horse like Tarzan, who's brilliant at this track. I think he's a track record holder. Runs super, but he draws the widest gate, so he's going to have to sit deep and still beat them. He's tough, and he'll certainly be right there. Spurcraft, not the same horse at all this preparation, and Charlotte White no longer training the horse. The horse has been transferred to Kelly Schweida, so be interesting to see what happens there. I see that the tongue tie has gone back on this horse as well. It has had the tongue tie on before and it failed. So there's a few question marks around it. Consistently takes up a high percentage of the market though, this horse, because it has got some blistering figures last preparation. So you can understand why it's kept safe in all the early markets. Then you've got horses like we've mentioned, Emerald Kingdom, and then you go to down the track, down the list from there. Sugar Boom, another horse that's sort of stepping up in grade. It's going to really know it's in a race this time. It's against older horses here, stronger seasoned sprinters. So it's not going to just be jump on the bunny, find a rhythm, and kick away here. It's going to be a pretty frantic 1,000. So coming back to Barter Jaws, it just does, like you say, it does map nicely, and you'd expect it to be finishing off really strongly.
I don't think that price will last, and I think it's just great each way bet, especially as you say with sort of speed on. Let's jump across to race 7, the Wayne Wilson quality over 1,600 metres. There was a runner that caught my eye last start, and that was Atana. It's I think it's had a couple of months between runs. Probably needed the hit out. I'm not sure if the 1,600 is going to be its go, or there might be an 1,800 or 2,000 metre race in a couple of weeks' time. So I often do that. I find a horse that I think's ready to peak, and sometimes I might back at the start, catch it at one start early on occasion. So that was an eye catcher for me. But what did you like out of the race?
Yeah, look, it's a pretty even race, I thought. I think obviously the market sort of reflects that. Baccarat Baby is short as $4.60 some places. Look, I suppose in a race like this is when I think they're pretty even. I try and work, from the favourite out to try and find where one might have been missed and why the horse is so short. Look, I kept going back over that replay of Baccarat Baby, and like Mick Hell Yeah was he was swinging off this horse.
Yeah.
Now, like it was completely stack it on. It was completely stack it on from from the corner. How far this never quickened. If you have a look at its sectional times in the race, I shouldn't say it never quickened, but I don't think the horse sort of was suited to that. I'll just wait, press the button. He looked like he could have been building and put a margin on the eventual winner, and then potentially held it, but didn't. The other horse just sprinted too good for it late. So obviously this horse goes up in trip, and you can understand why it's favourite. If you go back to its last prep, ran more than, done itself more than bloody proud of running behind a horse like Melody Bell, acquitted itself well there. I think it was, you go back another prep, it went to Sydney, wasn't far off from at group level there as well. So it has acquitted itself very well. Its runs in Melbourne were good. Last start I was thinking 1,400 home track, D Van Dyke probably get the job done, but Ciurleo was too good for it. Does it improve again up to 1,600? I don't know. Like David Van Dyke's horses seem to sort of, this horse in particular, does seem to run well throughout the prep, if you know what I mean, right? It's not sort of peaking. Didn't look to be peaking towards something. Obviously, it's ran well. Both runs back from a spell. So how much improvement is in it, I don't know. Sort of a little bit inconclusive for me. So that's sort of work from the favourite out, and I just can't find a reason why I'd want to be taking the 460 now about that horse. And then I sort of get out to horses like Magnifier. Obviously back in trip a little bit. Went really well at this trip. 2 starts ago at Doomben. It's a very open race. I'd rather be taking something that's that's over the odds and that can get the right run on the map than something right on its right price.
Yeah, there's another horse that had another quiet run, a man to match this start, but I think this is the wrong race for it. I think I'd probably to bet into this market, I'd probably want to see a bit more market intelligence and get a bit of a guide. And I think there'll be no rush to get a price about the horse you want to back and just wait till all the percentage sucks back out of the market. Let's keep it short and sharp tonight, and let's kick across to the Gold Coast. You might have a breaking news story. Have you?
I don't know whether it's breaking. I did notice that in race 6, is it? Yeah, the Wisdom of Water. I noticed, I did see that Aqua's Farm popped up in the ownership there, and after a little bit of investigation, found out that it looks like that they've purchased some of this horse and be looking to stand it at start, all going well for them, I'd imagine, being a colt. So I'm looking at this race saying newly purchased Group 3, extremely winnable race. It's $1.65 favourite, terrible race. And the only danger is a Aquis horse trained by Chris Waller, Safiano. Look, wouldn't surprise me one bit if they scratched Safiano, saved it for next week, and then that horse would be 2 weeks into the JJ Atkins. It was a last start 1,400-metre winner, back to a 1,200-metre race here. So Wisdom of Water, super return, did it in second gear last start. This is a terrible, terrible Group 3 field. It does look the most progressive horse and the most dynamic horse at 1,200, and I think it just wins.
Yeah, there's a roughie here that might fill the placings. I thought it was a good turnaround last start. Kavak, it showed a little bit of ability early last preparation. Kavak from the Chris Muntz yard, and I thought its finale last start over the 1100 at Toowoomba was sort of eye catching behind Got a Kiss and Goldsboro, which looked pretty solid horses for Queensland sort of types. So
I think that form will be good.
Yeah, I think the form will be really good, but I like the horse, but I probably prefer to back it at the place. And yeah, I'm just very wary that Wisdom Award is going to be a bit of a class act, and he might just dominate this field. The other key race over there at the Gold Coast, we get to see the return of Command and Conquer, Hightails in the mix. The Odyssey was too good for Garibaldi last start. It's probably got its measure of what we've seen so far. And there's an interesting runner, Bellevue Hill, who's first up from Sydney. Baroda's been specced in early betting, and Exhilarates is first up also. It's a pretty deep race. It's intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. We've seen Command and Conquer last week at 900 metres after that little let up that it had, where it sort of just poked along just behind midfield and really rattled to the line late. As a barrier trial more than anything for this. Look, I suppose this horse still has a bit of X factor about it, Command and Conquer, and he's the way that I'm leaning at this stage. Like you said, there's some decent horses here, like Baroda going around at $14 in any race in Queensland. It does look a big price. A horse like Baroda was interesting last start, where normally had been on speed, where last start jumped really well, and Andrew Mallion sort of snicked it and took cover in a pretty slowly run race. But she was very dominant late and looked extremely good through the line. And they were going to take her down south actually for a Scone Guineas or something, and elected to bypass that to come here. So just goes to show the depth of the race. She's a $14 chance.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's a super race. Looks good speed on paper. It's just a matter of what they want to do with Command and Conquer this week from the gate. They've got the options. They can press forward. Has done that over 1350, raced forward and raced handy, and was still able to reel off some really nice sectionals late in that race. So he's going to be strong enough. But this is a different race setup for him. When he led and won over 1350 when he on speed and beat Vanna Girl, it was a different pressure altogether than what you sort of expect to see here, I would have thought. So yeah, extremely interesting race for sure. And probably at 380 now at some places, Command and Conquer's short enough.
Yeah, I tend to agree. He might just still, although he's had sort of the 900 metre sort of blowout, he may have a little bit of a fitness edge. And that might have, held him in really good stead for this, versus horses like Exhilarates and Bellevue Hill. I think Hightail brings pretty solid figures. And yeah, it'll just be a quite a tactical affair, I guess. Can Hightail come off its back? I would have mapped Command and Conquer ahead of that. And Hightail running down. I'm not too sure. He just looks like this Command and Conquer. The more work that you put into this horse, the more he'd respond. He just looks like an absolute beast. And yeah, the way he sort of won those 2 starts prior to his barrier trial last start, you don't often see horses win sort of like that, do you?
No, look, he's done what he's shown too. He seems to improve just his racing manners as well. You know, like he seems to have a bit more of an idea of what the whole game's about. You know, as each run's progressed, and even last start, he didn't really expect him to sort of get as close as he did at the end of 900 from where he was in the run. So he's untapped, I think. And he looks like one of those horses where the better competition that he races, that he'll race better himself. So I'm excited to see what he can do. But from a punting proposition, he's probably about, I don't really want to be diving in at that sort of 380 mark to cheer a horse that I like.
Yeah, exactly. It's more watch and learn and enjoy. Yeah, the key is not to go bananas every race, and I guess we sort of proved that at the Bulldozer, especially on day 2. We were pretty patient. The results really didn't go our way. We had sort of backs to the wall for sort of 2 days, but we still tried to preserve the bank, and we ended up getting the result. But to sum up, I'd probably say that Batter Horse Each Way would be my best off the races that we've previewed tonight. If you want to get involved, head to the Mailbag and get Curly's set, my set, and all the boys are seeing him quite well at the moment. Girls, what's your best, or a value, or a lay for us?
Look, there's one at I don't think I'll be laying that. Well, I am covering the meeting tomorrow at Toowoomba. There's one horse. There's no spoiling the price right now, but really interested to see the return of race 2, number 1 at Dark Sun. Excuse me. He was a 2-year-old, still a 2-year-old. It was one of the early 2-year-old races here, the first one in Queensland, and then he's gone on from that to then run close up behind Wisdom of Water and chasing home Rothfire and Kiss Your Kano. So we know Wisdom of Water. We've seen it. And,
pretty strong form.
It's very, very strong form. You're not a genius sort of saying it looks the winner at $1.85, but you can take $1.65 about Wisdom of Water in a Group 3 at the Gold Coast, or you can take a bit better price about a horse with just as good winning chance, and equally as good a form for the race they're contesting. 2-year-old class 1 played at Toowoomba.
Yes, that's what it's about. Sometimes it's drop the ego and not try and back the winner in the group or the listed race, but poke around out wide and find the value and pick off the bookies there. They don't really want you to do that, and they'll advertise and they'll push you into the glamorous type races.
Which are always the hardest ones to find the winner, because there's so many more chances in a glamorous race in Sydney than what there is at Gatton in a benchmark 55.
Exactly. All right, Curls, I'll let you get back to Call of Duty. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll have more of Curly's Mailbag this time next week.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.